Ahsoka's in the studio, and he was Trekzone's second satellite guest 10 years ago when we began our podcasting adventure, and with only a couple of visits since then, it's time to welcome him back to the stage, Mr. Doug Drexler.
This is a Trekzone conversation.
Well, Doug, welcome back to Trekzone, my friend. It's been a little while since I've had a chat to you. How are you?
Okay, now, wasn't I one of your very first ever?
You were. You were the second only to Rod Roddenberry.
See that?
You even beat Larry Nemeczek.
Now, how long ago was that? That was
10 years.
10 years. Why does it seem so longer?
It does feel longer. I think we're both a little hairless, a little more hairless than that time.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't go to the barber anymore. I just have a pair of clippers. I just like clip it, you know.
Well, it's the same for me as well. I save the $30 a month. I don't need it.
Dorothy used to have this joke about the caveman wanted hair. And he says to God, I want hair. And God says, okay, but it's going to cost you brains.
I love it. Your beautiful wife, Dorothy, unfortunately passing away 12 months ago. How are you doing?
Today is her birthday. And it's the first. Of course, she wasn't here for the last one because she died just a few days before what would have been her birthday. It's changed my whole brain. I mean, it really. We were together 32 years, and I mean 32 years of perfect, you know. I'll never be the same. It's impossible. But you know, it's just like the rest of us. Life is just a big roller coaster, and you got to hang on.
Yeah,
and, you know,
and
life you can.
Life finds a way as well, really, doesn't it? It's been, it was somber 12 months ago, obviously, and then to just see you living as best you can through the months that followed, and you know, there is another beautiful lady in your life.
Oh yeah, I'm really fortunate. If you're on the Facebook page, you know, you've seen Donna. Is a real sweetheart, and I think that she's made a huge difference in my life because my brain was just one big bruise, you know. And I had 32 years of such beautiful affection, and that's what I missed the most, you know. And so I do get that you know, affection from Donna. It makes me feel like the universe hasn't completely forsaken me, you know. And in spite of all of this, you know, during Dorothy's illness and her death and everything, was one of the most prolific periods of my time on life on Star Trek, you know, with Picard. That was happening at the same time as I was going through all of that. And the work looks great. You know, I'm really proud. Dave Blass. Thank you, Dave, because, you know, Picard was a gift. Picard is all about coming full circle, you know, and it's behind the camera and in front, you know. When you think of the reunion that you see on the show that really, you know, gets you here, it's happening behind the scenes, too. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the fantastic part about Picard Season 3 was bringing everyone back, as you say, not just in front of, but behind the camera as well. And Dave really leaning into, and I know we spoke to him in Vegas last year, that he was absolutely thrilled to have people like you back on the cast. I've spoken to you about the Orville days as well, about how there's that reverence when you step into the art department. Does that ever get old for you, or is it a little embarrassing?
No, it doesn't get old at all. It's just right. You know, it's what it's supposed to be. That's the thrill never goes away. And man, I mean, when I think about how lucky I've been, all the different universes, it's really nuts. and I've had such a fun time. Uh, all of that Star Trek, and then Picard and Battlestar Galactica and the Orville. And I mean, my thing, well, just like you, has always been about Star Trek type space travel, science fiction stuff, and to get to go from one world to the other, to step from the bridge of a starship to the CIC on the Galactica, and change your head over to work onto that, which is not a long leap, because you had Ron Moore doing Battlestar, and so it really had a lot of Star Trek blood in it already. So it's kind of a alternate. It's really a blending of the original Battlestar and Star Trek, But yeah, man, have I been lucky?
What was it like for you? We haven't spoken since you worked on Picard season 3. What was it like to see that Enterprise D bridge recreated so faithfully?
Well, as you know, I was a makeup artist on Next Generation. I hadn't, gotten into visual effects or art department or anything yet. And so Next Generation is I mean, first of all, just working on my first Star Trek, and that Gene Roddenberry was actually still there, but working on stage, when you're a makeup artist, you are with the cast all the time, day and night, no matter how many hours it is. And that cast was one of the most fun casts that I had ever worked with in my entire career. I mean, it was hilarity all the time. And so it's a very, very, very special. For me, it was a thoroughbred Star Trek, because I knew that Gene was there at the beginning, and Bob Justman was there. To me, that was, you can't work on anything more amazing than that. Yeah, there's plenty of other Star Trek shows now, but one where Roddenberry is still close by, I could be working on a set and look over my shoulder, and Gene would be sitting in a tall director's chair watching me work. That's, but yeah. So the fact that they were going to rebuild that bridge, and of course, when we visit, it's really stunning. I mean, it's emotional, just like it is for the cast when they first come on. But the thing is that the work that was done was so perfect. I spent lots and lots of hours on that set, lots of hours, and there was very, very little that seemed, off to me. Everything seemed exactly right. I know that, Dave and Liz went to crazy extremes to get look, if you're going to mess something up, it's going to be that wood grain on the rail. I mean, come on. That's got to be the hardest thing on the entire, first of all, recreating that rail with the proper curves, because if you really know that set and you really know it, it feels like there's something wrong. There's something off if it's not bending just the right way, It is so beautifully authentic. And they managed to update all the backlights in the back with monitors that are not non-glare monitors. Back on the show, if they had a scene of Data working at the panel, they would have to set up black curtains and stuff to block the reflections of the film crew, because it would be in the plexi,
That's right. Yeah.
But to actually update things so that it doesn't look like you reinvented them, it looks just like it did then, but it's so much. I mean, look at the sequences where it starts up, they're awesome. Oh my God, that is so cool that the end titles that Terry, had them do an Okudagram homage over the end titles. Absolutely. I mean, that just shows it. Terry, the thing about Picard is that many, many people behind the scenes are thoroughbred people who've grown with Star Trek. That Star Trek is like part of their being. It's not just a job, And I think that shows. If that comes across, people can sense that sense of family, and that's what hey, look, Legacy, what a great show that would be. So much unfinished business from the past that you could tie up and bring in some of those actors. What a season that would be. My God, what a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's kind of sitting there at the moment. We don't know where it's going to sort of go with the writer strike happening at the moment.
Well, and it's also a very weird time for television too. There's so much content out there, all the streaming that's going on, and I mean, I can't follow everything. The pie is sliced so thin right now. How do they make a profit? So, and then we had the surprise cuts on some of those shows. Now, I've read lots of theories online, what could be going on there, but nobody knows. Nobody knows nothing. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, Prodigy, certainly a very interesting one. We'll dive into that with Bill and Dan from the Trek Geeks a little later. But what I've heard is that season 2's already made, so it's a very strange cut, very strange times, as you say. What is happening with streaming? Disney Plus as well. It's not just Paramount. Disney Plus is doing this as well. A lot of the streamers are doing it.
How many
Netflix.
Streaming channels do you need?
Well, and this is exactly right. And how many subscriptions can you have? You're almost back to cable prices these days.
Ridiculous.
It is, and just cutting through, and it's kind of, I think maybe Netflix had the right idea in kind of being an aggregate for everything, and then obviously all the studios went, hey, we could actually gather some data here. And
I have to say something before I go on, is that there's been a lot of Star Trek has been done, Discovery and Strange New Worlds, and full disclosure, a lot of people know I haven't seen any of them. I haven't watched any of them. And I just want to say the reason is because I'm insanely jealous not to be on those shows. And a little offended that no one asked me. So it's like I just can't look at them. So that's my story. That's full disclosure there. I have not seen any. Many people have told me that Strange New Worlds is a pretty cool show. But
yeah,
I can't look at it. It tears my heart out.
And I think also too the change in the original Enterprise as well. I think that might be. I know for a lot of people it actually was when we first saw it in the second season of Discovery that it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow that we didn't just have a faithful recreation of the '60s bridge. I think that's part of the reason that maybe we had the faithful recreation of the D in Picard season 3.
I think that if it was Terry Matalas, it would have been.
Yeah.
It just depends on who's in charge and how important it is to them or how well they understand. There's a massively underserved portion of fandom out there that grew up on all those other shows, and they feel like they're being neglected. That's why Legacy would cater to that portion of the audience, which you saw the reactions that we had for season 3 Picard. People, I mean, I was talking to a lot of people online. A lot of people wanted to see it. Oh, I've been burned so many times. I don't have any faith it's going to be any good. And then within a few weeks, they're like, oh my God, it's the Star Trek I've ever seen. So I think it's kind of like, it's like jazz, right? If you don't get it, I think if you really understand the Gestalt and all the wiring trunk of Star Trek, and it means something to you personally, you would have done there's a lot of things about the design I like, but it's not the Enterprise bridge, and it's not Pike's bridge either. I mean, there are things about Pike's bridge that could and should have been translated to the new bridge. That Pike bridge was designed by two guys who just got out of the Air Force, and it looks like it when you look at the bridge. It isn't till later where they get pushed to add color, where all that racy red design work goes in and stuff. I mean, it looks great, but there's just something so interesting about that original Pike's bridge, and even when you connect it to the bridge from, say, Star Trek the Motion Picture, that's in some ways seems a little more industrial as well. Yeah, that's it. It's like an industrial kind of look, Um, anyway, I
Bring the
could blather
gooseneck.
away about this forever. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Bring the gooseneck back, I say.
Hey, when I was as a kid, I went to the 1964 New York World's Fair, and they had Bell Telephone was demonstrating its video phones, and you could actually try them out. Who are you going to call? No one has one. But if you look at them, they're about this big, but they are exactly the gooseneck viewer faces. Matt Jeffrey saw those at the New York World's Fair, and so as a matter of fact, the New York World's Fair was like a ground zero for the aesthetic of the show. Matt had just come back from New York City. And so it's like those goosenecks are the Bell telephones miniaturized. Anyway, blathering away again. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. It's the whole reason that I bring you in, Doug, because fountain of knowledge and original fan as well, working on Next Gen. Let's bring it back to Picard. Getting that cast back together, as you say, you were on makeup in Next Gen, so you spent so much time, as you say, with these actors to see them back again 30 years later.
It's hard to describe what a beautiful present season 3 was for anyone who worked on the original show. I mean, it's like, wow, it's such a beautiful bow on the top of a career. It's totally impossible. How is this happening? I can't even imagine. I was amazed when Next Generation happened, and I ended up on that. I said, who would have ever guessed? How much longer can it go? But something, it could go for another 100 years. It really could.
Yeah, absolutely. And have them back and have Michael Dorn. I would imagine you and Michael would have spent a lot of time together, Klingon makeup.
Oh my God, yeah. He's hilarious. Michael Dorn is so funny, and he's also a sweet guy. He never forgets you. A lot of people know the story, but he used to he loved my last name, and he would say it I can't do it like him, but it's like Michael Dorn, like, Drexler, 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 and he'd go, a great Klingon name, a proper Klingon name, he says. And then one day I was walking through the backstage, and Ira Bear comes around, and I got Drex on my jacket, and he goes, Drex, huh? I go, yeah, that's a nickname some people use for me. And he says, I said, Michael Dorn thinks it's a great Klingon name. And then the next day, in the rewrites, there was Drex, the Klingon. I think Dorn kills him in the episode, but I got So when I see Dorn, like I'm going to Vegas, I'm going to see him. When he sees me, the minute he sees me, he starts that Drexler, 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 and he used to do it anywhere. It didn't matter where it was. But anyway, yeah, Michael Dorn is wonderful, and oh my God, his reveal in Picard is so awesome. It's killer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then at the end of the mission, he falls asleep on the bridge. He does a Bernie Sanders.
Say that again.
He at the end of the mission, in the very last episode, we see him collapse in the bridge chair and fall asleep. He's an older statesman now. He's done a Bernie Sanders.
Hey, I don't blame him at all.
Absolutely, an incredible time to be back. I guess what's your hope next? Are you hoping that phone will ring and Star Trek Legacy, if and when it happens, calls you up?
Well, the thing is that I'm really like on the edge of retirement, and I only see myself maybe doing 1 or 2 more jobs. And Legacy is something that I couldn't possibly walk away from if it happens. And I have to say that working with Terry is such a fulfilling experience. On many shows I worked on, they don't want to know what I think about how something looks. On working with Terry, he hangs on, things that Mike might say or me, or he'll even write me and ask me what I think they would do in a certain situation, or how it, that is so rare, so unusual. I mean, even if it wasn't Star Trek, you have to say, well, working with somebody like this is just really, there's no ego there. It's just about doing the best job, and you know. So, man, I wouldn't want to pass up working with Terry again. It would be awesome to do one more season with Terry and Dave Blass. I mean, production designer Dave Blass, man, I owe that guy big time.
Absolutely. Doug, it's been incredible to catch up with you again. So much time has passed since 10 years. I know you burnt a
I
hole in
heard
the
you
sunlight
have
for
Larry
me.
Nemechek coming on.
I know. He's up next, and he's hassling the Zoom producer to get on the air and get this Drexler man off my screen, he says.
God almighty.
He can actually hear us here talking, so we better be careful.
I'm talking about me, you know.
We love Larry. We love you too, Drex.
Hey, it's good to see you. Good to see
Doug,
you.
I really
Thanks for having
appreciate
me
it.
on. Don't wait so long next time.
All right, I'll try. Well, blame Larry. He's contractually obligated to appear at least twice a year.
Oh, nice.
He's not. I just say that. I love it. Doug, thank you so much for beaming in for 20 years of Trekzone. I'll give you a call beforehand, but I'll see you definitely for another live stream in 10 years' time when we celebrate 30 years.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Doug. Well, we are going to keep going, and everyone in the control room, stand by, because here we come to our next part of the morning. Don't forget about our membership. A quick plug before we go. For less than a cup of coffee per month, you'll get early access and behind the scenes. For a little bit more, you can go behind the curtain of For Your Protection. Our social media feeds are active with the latest podcast highlights. And we're on Threads now too, that new Facebook meta thing. I don't know what we're doing there yet, but we'll do something. Find Trekzone Media, like, follow and subscribe. This has been another part of our celebrating 20 years of Trekzone live stream event. Thanks for beaming in if you're doing it live, if you're catching it up on the replay as well. Thanks for doing all of that. And let's take a break and we'll come back with Larry.